In the mid-1970s, I went to work as a volunteer teacher in Kenya. I worked in a school between Nairobi and Garissa, in the dry eastern part of the country. I was 22 years old and an idealist. I wanted to do something that might help other people. I kept a journal during my 2 years in Kenya. That's the first page I wrote after arriving. It tells a story. There was a murder in the town the weekend before I arrived. And there's me as a 23-year-old visiting a friend at his home. That's the kind of place where my story now takes place. A couple of years later, I took this story and turned it into a novel. It's called A Fool's Knot, from the local proverb, "Don't ask a fool to untie another fool's knot." It's a story about how tradition and modernization and modern ideas conflict. It's a story of a man who wanted to influence the development of his home area, but he failed. He failed because he was in conflict with his father, a conflict that went back to his youth. I finished A Fool's Knot, but the story was only part of what I wanted to say. The rest became a new book called Mission. Both books are set in Migwani, and here's the town. It's only a small place. About 50 people lived in the town, about 20,000 people in the location. If something happened, everybody knew about it. The town woke up when the bus arrived. This is a Mombasa-bound bus. I can tell you it's not market day, because you can still see the bus. On a market day, people will be clambering all over it. A Fool's Knot was only published in 2008, 30 years after I'd written it. I've rewritten it a couple of times, but the story is still the same. It's a tragedy, it's a family tragedy, it's a national tragedy. I bought this painting from a hawker over 30 years ago. I don't think it's anywhere in particular, but to me it sums up the colour and the feeling of the place. My books examine the ideas that underpin social, economic and cultural change. Just imagine the difference in the lives between these two lads and their grandfather. And these were my neighbours from 30 years ago. I wonder where they are now. In Mission, 5 characters: a priest, a politician, a teacher, a young church worker, and an old retired army officer, each take their own view of certain events. I analyse what they think, how they react, and how they change. And A Fool's Knot records that original tragedy, the murder of a man by his father. It happened the weekend before I arrived in Migwani, and here 30 years later, the book is published. I really hope you enjoy it.